Hey y'all, it's Auntie from the Clinical Cookout, and I just wanted to come out here on this nice, beautiful day and start talking a little bit about black hair because lately the ladies from the Clinical Cookout have been talking about beauty standards and black hair and basically what we think about it. We get a lot of hate in our culture, and it's not only from other cultures, it's actually in our culture too, about our hair. You know, it's nappy, or it's too kinky, or I could never be natural, or I don't like braids. Braids are ghetto. And it really befuddles me because our hair has always been our best form of self-expression. It's never been more lovely than it is actually today. And it even gets more lovelier as time grows. So I do want to start out by saying that our hair has been coveted by other cultures. How many of you have heard box braids being called boxer braids? Or, you know what I mean, cornrows being called boxer braids. And somebody else saying, oh, you know what, Kim Kardashian coined the term boxer braids. That comes from our hair being coveted by other cultures. But my question is, with our hair being so coveted by other cultures, why do we disrespect our own hair? Why don't we see the beauty in our hair? Or can we not see the beauty in our hair because we've been colonized so much to think that our hair is ugly or nappy, or that, you know, we look too black with our hair? So let's get into it. All right, well, let's talk about the cornrow first. So the cornrow is sometimes seen as ghetto or too black, or, you know, people don't want their little girls to wear cornrows because they don't want them to look too ethnic. But cornrows actually was documented around 3000 BC, and actually was a symbol of wealth, status, rank, and ethnicity in our culture. So they come directly from our culture. So when you see people saying, oh, they're ghetto, or I don't like the way that they look, or they look too black, whenever you go to a black hair care expo, you're going to see a multitude of different cornrows. You'll see Beyonce come out with lemonade braids. You'll see Alicia Keys' braids plastered to the side of her head. You'll see all these people come out with these braids because they're celebrating their blackness. But somehow we've gotten away from the thought that is beauty instead of being related to the ghetto or the hood, which is fine too, because guess what? A lot of people covet that, and you see people in other cultures running around here cornrowing their hair. And honestly, we have the best hair to be cornrowed. Now, another thing that we could talk about is Bantu knots and locks. We are in a beautiful era of locks. I mean, we got sister locks, we got micro locks made with twists, made with braids. We've got locks that are called dreads. People don't like the word dreadlock because they were, I guess the term was coined dreadful. And so we're trying to get away from that. But no matter what you like to call your locks, we have this big plethora of beautiful black hair that we're celebrating right now. So the Clinical Cookout is coming to celebrate all of our hair. Now we can talk about some of the flack that people get for wearing wigs. Wigs have been celebrated in our culture because, you know what, they make things easy. Some people are not just wearing wigs because they just want to walk around with fake hair slapped on their heads, or they want their scalp to be suffocated and everything. But people have hair conditions, alopecia, to where, you know, you have traction alopecia where your hair might be coming out and you don't want to necessarily wear your hair bald. People have cancer. People are going through chemotherapy treatments where they want to cover up what's happening within their, you know, on their scalp. People also choose to wear wigs because our hair a lot of times have to be in a certain regulation, especially if you're in the military. If you're in the military, your hair has to be above your collar. Well, previously it had to be above your collar. And in order for it to be above your collar, you could have long flowing locks, long flowing hair. But by Monday, when you're trying to let your hair breathe on Saturday and Sunday, by Monday, you got to go and get your hair back into regulation because you know why? White folks said that it needs to look a certain way. Our hair grows outward. It does not grow out and go down. And so sometimes it's not as easy to do. But you know what is easy to do? Some cornrows and slap a wig on top of that. And now I look the way that you want me to look. So there's a lot of reasons why people choose to do their hair the way that they do. And I want black hair to be celebrated. You know why? Because when you are a black woman and your hair is not celebrated, and you are constantly told that your hair is not good enough, or that your hair is too nappy, or that somebody doesn't like the way your hair looks, or that your hair is ugly. It's basically telling people that they wake up and the way that they look is not for everybody else. It's not for the world. So they have to change who they are. They have to change the way that they look. And that's not okay. It's anxiety provoking. And in a lot of women, it causes depression. And it causes low self-esteem. And there are so many other mental health problems that are associated with negative views of your own hair. Now we can start talking about perms, or like people like to call them relaxers. But I know when I was getting them, it was a good old perm. You can go back and you can go say, you know what, I need to get my hair perm. My roots is getting kind of kinky, which is no longer a problem, by the way. But around the 1900s, obviously, Madam C.J. Walker figured out how to straighten our hair. But it wasn't only because we wanted our hair to be more manageable. It was also because we wanted our hair to look more white. We wanted to fit in to the majority culture. We can't fit into their culture because no matter what, after you straighten your hair and after about 6 weeks, when that perm start to grow out, those roots, those nappy roots gonna be okay. And they actually grow out, and you know what? They look the same way they did before you slapped that perm in your hair. Wait long enough and you won't even see a perm. But there's nothing wrong with that, right? Some people still choose to do the creamy crack or whatever people want to call it, and that's fine. But the point is that it was to make us look less ethnic. Some people are going to say it made your hair easier to deal with. It did make our hair easier to deal with. And for some people, it did give them a more polished look. And some people do think that it gives you a more polished look, but that depends on what you defined as a polished look. So, it's still really up to you whether you want to get a perm, but I always challenge people as to what about you would sit there and say, natural hair is not for me, when that's the way that your hair grows out of your head. So if you can challenge yourself and you can say, my hair is not for me, then I want to know the why. And that's rhetorical, right? You search within yourself and you figure out the why.